What is up, ProGuides family? My name is Nathan Ng and I'll be your host for this video. I'm really excited for this one because this video will cover a popular, frequently requested topic. How do you carry games when you're not playing an actual carry champion? Well, I'll be answering this mysterious question that haunts so many of us, so make sure you stay tuned. Subscribe so you don't miss out on future content like this, and let's get started. We'll kick off the video by talking about matchup knowledge. This is arguably the most important, although that might not be the most apparent. The reason why our analysts think this is because no matter what happens in nearly every game, you're gonna have to play a matchup. It's very rare that you find both bottom laners who want to swap into mid or top lane to avoid any traditional play, and even rarer to find solo laners who are willing to cooperate. In the case of most players, it's safe to say that we're pretty bad at playing from behind. There are plenty of winnable games that are lost due to some players deciding to run it down after having a shaky start. Other times they give it their honest, best try but still can't manage to get back into the game. With good matchup knowledge, you can turn bad matchups into ones that are close or slightly better than even, turn even ones into winning ones, and absolutely dominate the ones that you're supposed to win. By sheer virtue of winning your isolated 1v1 or 2v2, that means your opponent is losing, which is what we want. That's right, the point I wanted to make is not that you're ahead, but in fact the one that your opponent is behind. Cripple your enemy enough and the game gets close to becoming a 5v4, already so much easier no matter what happens after the early game. If you want to learn how to become an unstoppable laning phase demon, make sure you contact a coach over at ProGuides.com. We're proud to say that we have an incredible coaching staff, including players that have mastered a wide array of champions. That being said, let's get back to the main topic. There's good and bad news. The good news is that with or without a coach, it's manageable, and anyone who dedicates themselves to the role or a specific champion can master specific matchups. The bad news is that obviously it won't be easy. With trial and error, studying another player's replays, and making adjustments every time you play the same matchups, you can expect to see improved results each time. Of course, you'll need to employ strong decision making to build the largest leads that you can. Good wave management, like understanding when to freeze and zone, or push and deny minions, can put struggling enemies even further behind. In more explosive matchups, understanding the small adaptations that you can make, like what summoner spells that you can run to try and cheese with, or at what levels you can win a fight, make all the difference. Understanding a matchup at that deep of a level allows you to put your opponents into unfamiliar and difficult situations. Even tanks and support characters have windows of strength that they can take advantage of. These are typically in the early game, and picking up leads before level 6 can heavily dictate the flow of the rest of the laning phase. Take advantage of opponents that are already behind as much as you can. It's easier to bully somebody that's already weak. I'd hope that you don't apply that advice to the real world, but in the game, you have to do what you can to win. The next thing that we have to talk about is team fighting. This is the most straightforward way to carry your games, regardless of who you're playing. At the end of the day, someone on your team needs to deal damage, so let's talk a little bit about the perspective of a carry champion. Carry champions love teamfights as they're able to deal damage and influence games directly by ensuring their team wins as decisively as possible. Ironically, it's these same carries that are simultaneously the most powerful and the most powerless in these game-changing scenarios. What's most important in regards to teamfighting is understanding your role and your limits. There's gonna be set textbook play that's usually pretty obvious. Playing Janna, for example, you want to be next to your team's carries and avoid the front lines. What's harder is understanding when to break that mold. As a tank, you might be used to initiating fights and constantly diving enemy carries to get things started. When you're very ahead, you can play aggressively, try to single an enemy squishy, and actually try to kill them. At other times, you might notice your own team's carry is much stronger than the enemy's teams, and instead you should focus on keeping them alive. While your role for your team might always be the same as something like an initiator, disengager, tank, or enchanter, the best way to play isn't always static. You have to develop your ability to assess each character's strength. A Vayne at the 15-minute mark isn't going to be that scary. Some games, she'll be absurdly fed because she can manage to pick up a few early kills and snowball. However, in other games, she might be starving for farm after getting camped relentlessly by mid and jungle duo. Correctly assessing the strength of all 10 players can heavily influence how you decide to play a fight. Especially when playing a more supportive role, this difference in knowledge can easily determine if you can carry your games or not. Before moving forward with this video, let me ask you a question of the day. What do you think are the hardest things to learn while playing League? In my opinion, the hardest thing is learning when you're able to fight characters in other roles. You can get plenty of 1v1 experience against champions in your own role, but you won't be fighting isolated 1v1s nearly as often outside of it. Let me know your answers in the comments down below, and let's continue on with the video. Next up for discussion is macro play. There's this notion that to win your games, you need to put your team on your back and 1v9. With the right champion, you can outplay all of your opponents and win your games through sheer combat power, mechanics, and outplays. It's not always that simple though, is it? A carry can't do their job without teammates to support them. There are rare cases where they're fed beyond comprehension, but honestly, I think nearly every champion can 1v9 a game if they get 20 kills by the 25-minute mark. More realistically, a marksman can't safely or optimally fight without teammates that disrupt, protect, or fight alongside them. We often heard of games where a superb support or even a tank jungler manages to carry their games. Ultimately, there are professional players who manage to get where they are now, while putting in little to no time on picks that we consider quote-unquote carry champions. So, the big question is how? You probably know where I'm going with this, but the easy answer is macro play. In regards to fighting, knowing when to fight is just as important as knowing how to fight. An excellent support knows when to try and start optimal fights and also avoid bad ones. Things to consider are where the fights are happening and what areas players on the enemy team prefer to fight in. Champions with good AoE damage like Karthus and Cannon love chokes in the jungle, while a champion like Gnar wants to get close to a wall so you can go ahead and get the most out of his ultimate. Good macro play extends outside of teamfighting though, and oftentimes you need to consider everything that comes before it. Even if you're not playing a carry, it's undeniable that the game is a lot easier when your team's damage-oriented bot lane or mid laner is fed. Sometimes it's not as easy for them to pick up kills and pull ahead, but with the support of the teammates, they can easily snowball and become a dominant force. You'll often see high elo support players roam and help out one of their solo laners. Giving them that small edge in lane helps them completely shut out the enemy players, which, like I mentioned earlier, is crucial to consistently winning games. The other thing to consider is understanding who will benefit the most from roams or pressure. A mid laner like Twisted Fate, for example, often carries games with picks and by helping the right teammates pull ahead. With some successful ultimates, he can get either of his side laners ahead, making sure a hypercarry like Jinx gets the gold that she needs. That being said, macro play is something that every player can take advantage of. It can lead a team to victory by shot calling from any role. It's arguably more important to learn optimal decision making and take a more aggressive role in your team's map movement from a supportive position. Catching out an opponent near dragon can easily lead to your team picking up the objective and pulling further ahead. Oftentimes, you might want to ping mid and try to convince your team to push for as much map control as possible. Finally, we'll conclude the video by talking about your mindset. Mindset is important for every player on any champion. We talk about it in plenty of our videos, but I'll run you guys through the things that you need to think about when you're trying to carry when not actually playing a carry. First is that you need to understand that there's not going to be a good metric to measure your performance. The scoreboard can tell you a lot of things, but it's easy to rack up kills when you're already ahead and can often be misleading. Instead, great players are born when they can overcome struggles. You'll want to watch your own gameplay when you need to review your own decision making or feel stuck. Although the post-game stats won't tell you very much, you can find a lot of answers by watching. To truly improve, you'll need to do what a lot of solo queue players refuse to do. You need to think. There are a lot of questions that you need to ask yourself. Are you throwing out abilities towards good spots? And are you even landing them to begin with? When you hit a crucial crowd control, are your teammates in a spot that they can realistically follow up? It's not only important to hit your skill shots, but to also time it so that you and your team can actually work off of any picks that you make. You need to always question whether your ability usage is optimal. Could you be more patient and guarantee that they land? Did you hold onto them too long? Maybe you used some crucial disengage tool too early, allowing the enemy team's frontline or assassins to jump in on you without any worries. It's important that you can judge yourself honestly, reflect on your assessment, and adapt. When you're not playing a carry champion, the ultimate challenge comes down to your thought process and the decisions that you make. If all of that feels too daunting, there's no problem and you can pick up an easier champion. Point-and-click abilities aren't objectively bad, and in fact are the strongest answer to mobile enemies. As you get more comfortable with the general game knowledge and decision-making, you can start choosing more difficult champions. The adage, work smarter, not harder, truly applies here. That concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also make sure to check out the description for a link to join our Discord. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and have a wonderful day. Peace.